Hello again, welcome back. Let's see, before we dive into Microsoft Word once again, joke for the lesson. So lately I've been talking about all the different research that all the different professors are doing during the summer here. I've talked about the chemistry department. The physics department was also doing some research. Dr. Brad Lowry is kind of the physics department here at school. And he was doing some research in the physics labs. So again, I decided to stop in, see what he was up to. And apparently he was doing some research on dealing with anti-gravity. And he had already done the research, and again, like most of the other our professors, he was typing it all up, sending it off to get peer-reviewed. And apparently, the people who were reviewing it were pretty excited about this research. And also, apparently, he has a pretty engaging writing style, I guess, because the #1 comment that he got about his research on anti-gravity was that the reviewers just couldn't put it down. Couldn't put it down. I love it. Alright. So in this section, we're going to be talking about formatting in Word. That's just kind of an outline of how we're going to go about this. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start off talking about fonts. So within fonts, there's kind of two different sections of fonts. So there's serif fonts and sans serif. Sans is, I think, Latin for without. So sans serif would be without serifs. And what serifs are these little tails on the different letters, as you can see on the C there, on B. So you can kind of see the difference between, so this top one would be a sans serif font, and this middle one would be a serif font. So you can see kind of the tails there, and this one is lacking the tails. So generally, sans serif fonts are a little bit more readable, easier to read, but it kind of depends on what your audience is. So to change the font, you can just select what you'd like to change, and then in the Home tab over here in the font, so you can see we have Times New Roman. So Times New Roman is a serif font. However, if we do Arial, Arial is a sans serif font. So let's go ahead and change that to Arial. So again, you can kind of see the little tails here on the second paragraph. So the second paragraph is still Times New Roman, which is a serif font. And then the sans serif font is the first paragraph there. To change the size, you have a couple different options. So again, you highlight what you'd like to change. Excuse me. And then up here you'll see this 12. So you can just go ahead and click the 12, and I can go ahead and see what I'd like. If I want to increase the size, I'm not quite sure what I want to increase it to. I just click this large A to the right of that 12 there. That will increase the size incrementally. Decrease kind of this smaller A. Or I can just type out the size that I want, so I'll just go 15, just for kicks and giggles. If I want to change everything, you could go to Home and select all. Or you can do Control A, and that will select everything in the document, which really comes in handy if you want to make sweeping changes throughout the entire document. Highlighting text. So to highlight text, you can just highlight the text that you would like highlighted. So we'll just go Assistant Professor of Mathematics. And then you'll see here we have this highlight pen. And if I click this arrow, I can choose which color I'd like it highlighted. So we'll just highlight it in yellow. Why you'd want to do this? One example of when I saw it used, one time when I was writing a paper, I sent it off to get edited by a friend of mine, and the edits that she saw, she chose to highlight so that I would know what changes were made to the paper. If you're typing notes for classes and you want to highlight a certain point, you could use the highlighter pen for that as well. It's kind of up to you and what you would like to use it for. Copying formats. So to copy a format, so what copying a format does is it just takes the format of one section of text, and then wherever you'd like to copy it, it makes it easier so you don't have to be constantly checking back and forth. Okay, was it size 12 or size 14? And then bold, italic, what font style was it? So to do that, you can use what's known as the Format Painter. So I'm just going to click up here in this first part here in the title. And if I click on the Format Painter, so now wherever I push the Format Painter, it's going to copy that format from the title to what I've selected. So I'll just click it here. As you can see, it changed that. If you want to apply it to several different parts, you can double click the Format Painter. And there you go. So again, that just makes it a little bit easier, so you don't have to be constantly checking back and forth between the different formats used. Borders and shading. So border is a line that surrounds the paragraph, and then shading is kind of the background color that appears behind the text. So to change the border and shading, you can go to this paragraph group. So I'm just going to select this first paragraph. I'm kind of picking on that. And I'm just going to do, so you can just select the borders you'd like. So I'm just going to do a top border there. And we'll do a bottom border. And then shading, so I can click that little paint bucket there, and I can apply whatever shading I'd like. Bullets and numbering. So a bulleted list is when there's no specific order with which the items should be read necessarily. And then numbered list would be if you have a specific order in which you'd like the items read. So to do a bulleted or numbered list, you can just click where you'd like the bulleted list to appear, and then up here you see bulleted, and then numbering. So if I want to change the style of the bullet points, and you go and change the style there by clicking that arrow there. Or I can make this a numbered list, and we'll go Roman on it. And then the multi-level list would be if you have a list that contains multiple levels. In this case, we don't really have, I suppose we do have an example of that. So there's the second level there. Columns, so you can format a section of a document in a side-by-side columns by going to the page layout and then doing columns. So I'll just go up here, and I'll just do, and if I do more columns, then I can go and do 2, and then I can do a line in between those 2 columns. So now you'll notice that it also did my column, or my title in 2 columns. If I don't necessarily want to do that, I can just go ahead and do 1 here. And I can insert a section break. So again, I can go to page layout breaks, and then we'll do continuous. So then I can click here in the section 2. And now this first section is 1 column, and the second section is the 2 columns. Creating a PDF, so if you wish to publish a document and prevent others from editing it, you can create a PDF file. We talked a little bit about this earlier. when we talked about the file menu, so you can go to File and the Export, and then create PDF XPS document. And we'll just go ahead and publish that. So PDFs are nice because they're kind of a universal document format, so you don't necessarily need a specific program in order to open them. Like Microsoft Word, if you try to open Microsoft Word, it might look different on different computers, but with PDF file, it would look pretty much the same. One of the drawbacks of the PDF file is they're a real pain to edit. In fact, pretty darn near impossible to edit unless you have specific software that you have downloaded. So if I wanted to change this, I would have to change it to a Word and then export those changes to a new PDF document, which could get a little bit annoying as time goes on. Text alignment, so you have left, center, right, and then justify. So justify makes it flush with both edges of the sides of the page. So I'm just going to go ahead and justify each of those. Which could be good or bad, as you can see. I'll go ahead and center align the title. And the rest of it's justified, which looks a little bit nicer, I think. Margin and indents, so to change the margins, again, this is done in page layout. You can do margins, and you can do custom margins if you'd like. Or you can choose one of the margins automatically provided there. So the margins of individual paragraphs are known as indents. So the first line indent marks the location to indent only the first line, and then the hanging indent is how far to indent each of the lines after the first. So this top one is the first line indent, so we have this hourglass figure kind of here. So the top one is the first line indent, and the bottom one is the hanging indent. So if I go here, and if I do hanging indent, so you can see that's indenting everything except for the first line. And then if I change the first line indent, I can change that as well. And if you don't have the ruler, you can go to the View tab, and then you can click on the ruler option there. So sometimes the ruler doesn't pop right up.